We're going to do a couple different settings and tests on the Red Epic Dragon. So we're going to start with an 8:1 compression ratio and then bring it down lower and lower. We have the 512 mini mags are able to go to a pretty low compression setting. And we'll take a look at the footage and see the difference between that. And we're also going to do a couple tests in slow motion and see the difference of that using Pantita, our model today again. So we'll do a quick shot here of her. Just looking at the camera, 8:1. We're shooting with a 21 millimeter Zeiss lens, and we're shooting it at f4. So to me, that gives it a pretty good depth of field combination with the best part of the lens. Cool, and then walk around. Give me a little. So now we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to drop it down to a 6:1 compression, just see if there's noticeable difference, and then we'll go all the way to a 4:1 compression. This is all at 6K 24 with a 16:9 aspect ratio. Cool. All right, that's good. So rolling at 4:1 compression now, and give me the wave and spin one more time. 4:1 is the lowest setting. Great. So now we're going to do some frame rates and see what kind of frame rates we can get out of the camera. In the settings, we're going to pop on up, and this says at 4:1 compression we can do 82 frames, which is fairly slow. So I'm going to open the aperture up to 2.8, and I'm going to go to base 1600 ISO so we have a proper exposure. And we'll see how this all works. The big advantage too of using tungsten lighting is that you don't have to worry about flicker, which you can have flicker issues even with LED lighting at various frame rates. So here we go. So this time I want you to move really fast because we're in slow motion, so either jump or dance or do something. So actually what we got was set 14:1 compression at 82 frames. So it was actually a 14:1 compression to get 82 frames. That's interesting. We went to a 2:1 aspect ratio, and we got 3 more frames at 85 frames at 6K. It's 2:1 compression. And we'll do one more. Oh, we're suddenly getting 100 frames at 6K widescreen. So we'll try 100 frames now. We've got 15 more frames. So this is giving us a 2:3:5 aspect ratio, which, hey, you know, a lot of people like shooting that. You can go 100 frames. All right, so we see it. Yeah, still 14:1. The red coat compression is 14:1, and we're gonna go to our next setting, which I think is down to 5K. Oh no, 6K HD. All right, let's see what that does. 6K HD goes back to 82 frames, so we're not going to shoot that. We're going to go to 5K. And 5K gives us 96 frames, so still below the 6K at 2:3:5. I guess that center cutting in the frame where you're using less of the sensor allows it to go faster. So we're going to keep going down. We'll try 5K 2:1. See how slow we can go with that. All right, you got an extra frame. So 5K 2:1, you go 101.45 frames. And this is with the 512 mini mag. It's brand new, so this should be the fastest this camera can do in these settings, and see what our red code can be. Now we can go to a 12:1 compression, so we get a little bit better compression ratio out of it. And we're rolling. .5K widescreen, we get up to 120 frames. Now we're back to about the frame rates that I could get with an Arri SR3 and SR2 back in the day. High speed, we get about 120 to 150 depending on how good your batteries were. Shooting film, if you guys remember that stuff. Okay, so go for it. Good. It's 120 frames. Let's check and see what 5K watt HD is probably going to bring us back down. Yeah, 96 frames, so we're not going to shoot that. Now we're going to go to 4K, so we should start seeing some, hopefully more speed. 120 frames is about the same as what we just had at 5K. Let's see, we go 4K 2:1. Hopefully that'll give us more frame rates. So you get 127 frames at 4K 2:1. So you get 7 more frames versus 5K. .4K widescreen, we got a big jump in frame rate. We got 150 frames. So we just added a bunch more light. Should be good to go. So 160 frames at 3K straight. I'm going to swing the lens because the 21, once you get down to 3K, the 21 millimeter is actually not wide enough a lens really to see everything you want to see. So we're going to pop this lens off. Go to 11:16, I think. Not quite as sharp as the Zeiss's, but it's a nice, really nice wide angle lens. Kind of one of my other favorite lenses actually is 11:16 Tokina. I've had several versions. The PL mount version made by Duclos. They take it and remodify it, and turn it PL, and this is a Canon mount version. And then we'll go down to 3K 2:1. 169. It's not really a huge improvement. I'm not going to shoot that one, so we'll go 3K widescreen. Let's see if we can get some more frames out of that. All right, here we go. We got 200 frames out of 3K widescreen. This might be a really good compromise because 3K still looks pretty good, pops up to 4K and will intercut fine, and you get 200 frames a second, which is pretty slow. So 2K, we're back to about 240 frames a second. So 240. It's pretty slow. I think we'll be able to get it up to 300, mythical 300 frames a second at one of these settings. So here's 240 frames a second. All right, 252 frames. This is a 2K 2:1, which is still an acceptable aspect ratio. Go for it. So this is interesting. You got a 6:1 compression, so your compression is lower, and you got 300 frames a second. This is a 2K widescreen, so it's that 1:235 aspect ratio, and that could be pretty interesting. So if we can get anything else out of this, let's go 2K HD. Nope, that's going to be lower. All right, so we got to the mythical 300 frames a second. It was a 2K widescreen, 301 frames a second with the Red Epic. And there's a quick look at all the different frame rates that are available and the different resolutions that get those frame rates.